as you may not know about me, but I am a bit of a connoisseur, a bit of a food snob, if you will. But then again, I'm also into like survival and stuff, and going in the woods and foraging and stuff, scavenging. So today we're gonna watch some compilations from Dual Survival with Dave Canterbury and Cody Lundin, and I'm gonna see if I would eat any of this stuff.
Digging sticks were used cross-culturally for thousands of years, so this simple stick doesn't require any energy to make it, but look how more efficient it is than my hands.
That's so funny. So funny about Cody Lundin is that he'll go through explicit detail. This right here is what you call a digging stick. They've been used cross-culturally over many centuries. It's just a stick. It's a stick.
Just as is.
Would I do that? Okay. So for the clam, eating the clam fresh out of the ground, I wouldn't do it first. If someone else was there with me and they just did it, if I was there with Cody and he handed me a clam and he opened his and just went, I'd be like, but if I'm out there by myself, I don't know if I'd muster up the courage to do this. It's like going to the gym. You always have a gym buddy to push you to go farther. I don't know if I would do this by myself.
It is edible. It's not pizza for sure, but it's something to eat.
Want to eat the rockweed?
I
Yeah.
happen to know this rockweed, but if I don't know what it is, I don't eat it. Because if you're sick out here, it compounds the problem incredibly.
If I'm hungry, I'm definitely shoving tons of that rockweed in my mouth.
Eating on the fly.
You know, I've never been much on seafood. I gotta tell you that, Cody.
Just don't really look at it too close. Just eat it.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think eating periwinkles and clams sucks. I can't stand the taste of that stuff, but it's food, it's protein.
Eating the periwinkles, the snails. If I was seriously starving, I would. If I was just out there for a day and saw, oh look, some snails, I don't think I'd be going for that.
And just cut it right up the front. I'm trying to stay just underneath the skin with this. I don't want to break that into that gut cavity, because if I end up splitting the gut at all, it can taint the meat, and I don't want that.
Now, I've never gutted anything. I've never hunted and gutted anything. So I'm not sure I would be able to successfully do something like this. Because you watch people do it, and you're like, oh, I've watched people do it. This has to be easy. All those warnings about making sure not to puncture the intestine to spoil the meat, simple hogwash. No one has ever done that, because you simply watch experts who know what they're doing. So, if I had a porcupine, yeah, I would eat it for sure. Not entirely sure I would be able to successfully gut it, however, because I've never done it, so I can't say.
There's the heart of that dude right there. Just like your heart, just like my heart. This is where that animal spirit lives. That's the real deal. Connection with the animal.
Inuit cultures rely on organ meats,
I
which are
don't think I would do that. I don't think I would cut the heart right out of something and eat it just like Dave just did.
Well, you probably ate it raw, right?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, hell no. I'm gonna cook mine. Okay, man.
Yeah, I don't think I would be eating the heart raw, no.
It smells really good, Dave. Really good.
I'm gonna consider that you like your heart well done.
That's something else that I've been like mentally preparing myself to consider, is that, you know, we saw in 2020 that it doesn't take much for the supply chain to get screwed up. Luckily, we were able to keep stuff going to an extent, but anything, and you know, I know that there's absolutely nothing that could happen that would be more severe than COVID, aka the Black Plague 2. But if anything worse than COVID were to ever happen, and the supply chain got screwed, my ability to get food would be greatly inhibited. So I might need to eat some different stuff that I'm not used to. Yeah, I wonder what porcupine tastes like. I've not really had a lot of exotic meat, and the stuff I have had, I'm not a big fan of.
Keep you going in a survival situation. Mice, rats, bugs, until you get that mule deer. So we can't afford to be choosy in this situation.
I hate that Cody's right about that.
I'm talking about the stereotypical
I
nightcrawler or earthworm. That's
really-
pure protein to me. I don't know what Dave's gonna think about that.
I really don't. That's terrible. I've literally had nightmares.
Wash him off.
That's disgusting.
Eat him.
He washed him off in his mouth. That's the worst thing I've ever seen in my life. I'm not eating worms unless they're like chopped up and put into a bowl of brown and you don't tell me what's in it. Any other way, I'm not eating worms.
This is probably the hoo-hoo grub here. Look at the size of those things, man.
I'm gonna tell you the truth. I've seen grubs. I've seen grubs, like when I'm out in the wilderness, and I run away whenever I see a grub like that. That repulses me so badly.
It's a tiny sausage dripping with butter.
It tastes like peanut butter.
Cheap ass peanut butter. Hoo-hoo.
Huh. Dave said it tastes like peanut butter. I still don't want to do it. Yeah, dude, like maybe if I was actually dying. Yeah, dude, like fish? Yeah. I'd eat fish, for sure.
Sorry, brother.
That's an eel.
You know, I'm not crazy about killing stuff.
I'm
It's
not a
just hell of lot
fan.
of meat. It's half my height. It's
I'm not a
half
fan of
more.
eel.
It weighs.
I don't really care for eel that much. Not a big fan of eel. Would definitely eat it, like not have a problem in a survival situation.
You know, if we dry this eel as opposed to cook it, it doesn't go bad. As soon as the surface area dries, the blowflies or any sort of flies can't lay maggots. With the heat of the New Zealand sun, we're good to go. And I'll keep the head on again for easy transport.
Honestly, I think that's just TV stuff. It's not easy to dry meat. You can't just like put it out in the sun and then it dries.
I have.
So I figured I'd make us a gill net, and you can use it for a backpack if we have to take some stuff
Awesome.
with us.
That's great.
So what do you think?
I love
man?
Dave
Fine,
Canterbury.
right?
He's cool.
Well, and we got.
I want the damn thing cooked.
So I,
Yeah, eating raw fish isn't a big deal to me, especially if it's that fresh. I mean, it'd be a lot better if I had some soy sauce to go with it, obviously. But yeah, I don't really have any problems eating raw fish.
here, crumb cake. Definitely oily, so that's good news.
Yeah, it does have an oily flavor to it.
Yeah, it having an oily flavor is good news, because fat, it has a lot of calories. And if you're looking for simple calories to burn as energy, having calorie-dense food is good on the trail, especially more than like those greens, like that seaweed that Cody was picking up and throwing in his mouth. He's like, that's calories here. What is that, 2 calories for 8 cups of that stuff?
Cahoon nuts were an ancient Mayan staple. They're rich in fats and similar in taste to the coconut.
Yeah,
that's
dude.
just in my mind.
Any nuts, I'm absolutely eating those. No problem. If someone hands this to me and says, yeah, dude, this is edible, I'm eating it. No problem.
I got some this variety beef cow.
Dude, Cody is jacked. Cody's absolutely yoked.
He loves that stuff.
Roadmap veins in his forearms. So the diet works for Cody, that's for sure.
It's 9.3 kilocalories per gram. Of
Yeah,
fat
he
power,
mentioned.
compared to 3.7 or 3.4 for carbohydrates and proteins.
There you go. Now just lift it up there too, Cody.
An iguana?
And just
I've
fish it,
never
you know what I mean?
eaten any
like you were
reptile. I know that iguanas are really invasive in Florida recently. They don't really have where they're settling and making havoc, they don't really have any predators. So they're becoming a big problem in Florida. Iguanas are. And so I'll watch videos of these guys like hunting loads of iguanas because they'll go in and tear up crops. And then they'll, don't want to waste anything, so they eat the iguana. So I'd give it a try. I can't guarantee that I'd like it, but for sure, I would definitely eat anything like that in a survival situation. Would I be jumping to kill something like that? Honestly, any of these animals. I really don't want anything attacking me, so I'm kind of skittish around animals. Like, I was riding my bike and I saw a deer, and the deer, like, if that thing flipped out of the tree like that, like, I wouldn't be able to do that. I'd have to really psych myself up to get in there and just chop its head off like Dave just did. I was riding my bike down the street and I saw 3-4 deer on the side of the road, and I kind of like freaked out a little bit because I don't want to, it's just a deer. It's not going to harm me. None of them, like, they were all doe too. They didn't have any antlers or anything, so it wasn't a big deal. And they all ran away when they saw me too. But yeah, I don't want any sort of animal attacking me or anything. And for the most part, I don't want to hurt any animals. I would definitely eat iguana. If I had to, if I knew, with most of this stuff, if I knew that that was the only food I was going to get, I would for sure tackle that thing and try to to dispatch it. But otherwise, yeah, I'm a little skittish about that stuff, especially like up close with my bare hands. Not sure that I would run in doing that. Not that I have a problem with anyone doing it, but I myself wouldn't be gung-ho to do it. Like, if it just on a Saturday afternoon, I wouldn't want to go do it.
And have several pounds of protein-rich meat.
My first grilled iguana is awesome meat. And it's very tender, very sweet, very juicy, very chicken rabbit-esque.
Chicken rabbit-esque. Never had rabbit either. Like, I've not had a lot of like exotic. Most of my meat is like chicken, pork, beef, turkey every once in a while. Not much beyond that.
So normally when you harvest them, they shouldn't fall on your bare foot. I'm pretty excited to have these fruit.
That's funny. That's funny when anything happens to Cody's feet, because he always goes on about how he's completely fine without wearing any shoes. It'll never affect him in any way.
Turn you on to a little delicacy here.
Any sort of fruit stuff, yeah, I'd pop that right in my mouth.
This thing, look at that.
Yeah, dude, that looks so nasty.
Looks like diarrhea.
You can just scoop the inside out. Chopstick.
Yeah, fruit that I gotta scoop out. Probably bitter.
This Chona cactus fruit is a lot like a kiwi. It's incredibly tart, but you can just see.
It's like a
all the
kiwi, it's
water
tart.
value here.
Yeah, if I was getting water out of it and it was just tart like a kiwi. Yeah, dude, that's slime.
Dude, this ain't gonna get it for me.
I'm not into the slime.
I'm open for ideas.
Yeah, not into the slime. Not excited about that.
The smoke should travel up through the Vizcachas tunnel, forcing the
This
animal
is
out the back and
so
into the
bizarre.
stomach.
I would never think to do something like this.
Then, the best way to kill it is to snap its neck.
They're trying to smoke out some sort of animal out from the rocks,
Keep blowing it, Cody.
which is
Keep blowing it in there, man.
not something I would think of.
There he is.
Dave used a karate chop to dispatch the rat.
Fairly easy to catch after that. 'Cause
I guess that's some sort of
stunned, like you can imagine.
rabbit with a long tail.
So man, I'm gonna deal with this fire. There should be enough embers back there to get a fire to going to process this out.
Another team hunt.
There should be enough embers. He's just saying that for TV. There's still flame there. It's so easy. if you have flame to start a fire. And Cody, of all people, should know that.
Vizcacha is prized game meat in Peru, but it's got to be prepared carefully and fast.
They have glands in their tails, similar to how deer have in their hinds.
See, like, I wouldn't know that.
Pretty quick, this meat's gonna go taint.
Any urine, musk, or intestinal fluids that seep into the meat can cause food poisoning, a potential death sentence in the desert.
So if I had to, like, I need, like, more training on hunting stuff. Like, I know you can skin a rabbit like that, just like taking a sock off.
While you're doing them up the belly, as best you can.
Yeah, I would be super. Ugh, that's so nasty.
All that good
I wouldn't.
except for that.
I wouldn't feel great
Gotta have that.
sticking my hand
Can go.
in there.
Done deal.
I can, like, mentally prepare myself to know, okay, this is what I have to do, and just do it. But I wouldn't be excited about it to stick my hand in there into the
How you doing, man?
into the thing.
I saved the heart for us.
Would I eat the heart? Oh yeah, for sure.
I roughen it.
Yeah, that looks like good meat, honestly. I could just tell by the way it was pulling when he was pulling it out of his mouth.
Of the chona,
That looks
the rough,
exquisite.
subtle flavors of the peppercorns.
I am spoiled though. Like I said, I am a snob, so
Vizcacha
eating
fresh,
meat without having any salt
right from carbonation.
would be
Really good, Dave.
an obstacle for me. Maybe I should start when I go to McDonald's or something. I should start putting salt packets and put that in my adventure kit
Push out even further.
in case I ever get stranded or anything.
And a bomb. If I cut this, cut it down as low as I
Would I
can
eat
go,
bananas? Yeah,
scoop it out. This stalk itself, it'll fill with water.
that's interesting.
For centuries, the Lao people have prized the plant not only for its fruit, but also for its leaves.
That it honestly looks so. Those trees look
The real
awesome.
good stuff is in the middle here. Look at that moisture.
The banana palm is loaded with electrolytes.
I wonder
vital minerals that get lost
if he has to do that, or if he could like
A lot of water. Yeah.
cut pieces off and like chew on it and suck on it, like that. Oh yeah, he's eating it.
It's kind of bland taste. It tastes like cattail. This is food. It's food that's not running away. It's food that didn't require a whole lot of calories to get. It's almost like a little artichoke.
Yeah, 100% I would do that, and I would cut down the tree by kicking it.
Just roll this up and
That'd be
give it a
sick.
little drink before I leave.
That's cool that he rolled up the leaf and he's using it as a straw. That's cool. I like that. If I was cooking stuff, I would do it the super slow way of just putting it on a stick.
That's my fault.
Frogs. I've never eaten frogs, and I would really not be excited to hunt frogs. First off, like, a frog gig just looks brutal.
20 of these in an hour or two. The 4 or 5 of them
It's just stuff it in his pocket.
There's no sense of wasting food and just killing stuff to be killing it either. You have to have respect for the animals to begin with.
Yeah, and, you know, as far as frogs go, I would be worried, because I don't know too much about frogs.
What's up, man?
Like, okay, this one's not brightly colored, but is it toxic? Am I gonna poison myself if I eat this?
Look at that.
Yeah, I wouldn't be excited to eat frogs.
Oh, yeah, plenty, believe me. I missed at least 2.
Obviously, the main thing to eat on it is the hind legs, the biggest piece of meat. And I'm just gonna cook it just like a hot.
I don't know if there's anything else. Do you eat anything else on the frog? The rest is just guts
Well,
and
this should be done.
skull, isn't it?
Bon appetit.
I don't really know.
Piece of meat right there. That's enough to feed one of us for 2 days at least, right there.
Or one meal for me.
All right, man. I got a bucket load of meat.
Yeah, that meat, I would want to put salt on it. I would want to age it a little bit. What is that? Alligator?
Out of that alligator, let's get some of this cooking, man.
Yeah.
Right now, there's fire.
I've never had alligator.
Can't do nothing with it. Back right here, we can put meat on. Start to smoke.
Yeah, dude. If I was out in the woods, like well, you know, wherever alligators are,
Is the best thing to do.
and I didn't have
Do that is to smoke it
a
because
serious weapon to take on the alligator, I don't think I'd want to wrestle it
200 degrees.
and try to, like, stab it or something. That's not something I would want to do.
Days, it'll be- if we smoke it, it'll be good for a month.
There's no way that's true either. Like, there's no way just putting the meat over smoke for a little bit's gonna make it good for a month. There's no way.
That's kind of a swampy, subtle flavor.
Yeah, swamp flavor, man.
Like pork with a swamp flavor. Yeah, it sounds great.
That's real good.
Do alligators have a lot of fat on them, or is it really lean stuff?
I got mad at you for being a bad boy.
Yeah, that whole alligator, that's a lot of food.
But
Buying that waterway.
That would be a huge morale boost, too, to have, like, some fatty meat
We're fresh.
when you're out in the middle of nowhere and you got lost or whatever.
Get him, man?
yeah, I got it.
We're talking chow.
Ciao.
Would I want to go and fight a snake? No, I would not. I do not want to go fight a snake.
Yeah, he's done. He's not going anywhere.
I do know
There's a knife right here, but
some
Cody wants
people
to
who would
to skin it with and do the man thing, and I'm cool with that. So Cody's gonna skin it out,
just grab a snake
cook this bad boy
and
up,
not have any problem with it.
a bit of a feast.
But those same people would have a problem eating the snake.
Hey, Dave, can you take care of that?
They'd be like, no, I'll starve before I eat snake.
Fire. The head up, it's dead.
I wonder if the heat, like, destroys the poison. It would, right?
Tie it up to a tree. So, Dave,
I need to do some hunting
official partner,
to, like, get experience gutting
I'm
stuff.
bequeathing you this Mojave skin. Well, load up.
Oh, but would I eat snake? Yeah. Yeah, if someone handed it to me like that, or like if they handed me the raw meat to cook, I would cook it up and eat it for sure.
It looks like a male steelhead. He probably got
Salmon?
this thing spawning. Most
Yeah.
of them go back to the nice and red.
So he
Pink
scavenged
or white.
this
So as far as
salmon.
I'm concerned, this dead fish I just found is a hell of a lot more fresh than anything you'd find at the grocery store. Wait till I tell Dave, man. I got meat for the Barbie.
That's fair. Yeah, especially since it's in the cold water, you would assume that it would be somewhat preserved,
Into small rodents and a
and
variety
bacteria
of
wouldn't. Like, you would check for smell too, I assume.
among dense brush and trees.
Would I eat that salmon? Yeah, for sure. This episode was cool when he made this bow out of, like, bamboo.
Especially the hens. It's kinda like
I gotta get myself a bow. Like a packable
I made that out of
bow that I could have on the trail.
Longbows work best at close range.
Longbows work best at close range. That's not. Oh, that thing is like 2 feet long. That's not a longbow.
Probably the best thing for me to do is hold up behind a log, listen, maybe call.
I'm not even sure a short bow is a thing, but it's not a long bow.
Not have to move toward them from behind a downed log. with
I haven't tried calling anything in a while, but I have tried. I've never done it successfully. But I've seen turkeys. Yeah, I'll just be out walking in the woods and see turkeys. I've seen turkeys, I've seen deer. Like a stone's throw away, just turkeys will be walking. I've seen geese. Geese are fairly... I'm not sure what the word is. I want to say domestic, but
Makeshift arrow.
as opposed to exotic, there's a lot of geese around. But they're, people want to tend to protect them even though they're considered to be real douchebags.
Can I even guarantee you're gonna hit
The way they edit this stuff is so goofy. Wow, that's a lot of blood, Dave.
Get this bird cleaned off, gut it out, back to the fire.
Yeah, especially with a bird, I wouldn't know how to do this.
On a fresh kill. Carefully removing the intestines so bacteria doesn't spill into the meat. E. coli
That's a lot of
can
meat,
lead to
too.
vomiting, diarrhea.
That's all breast meat right there. That's huge.
That is huge. I'd be afraid of
Get that cleaned out of there.
shooting something like that and puncturing, like, an intestine,
Now, wash him off. That dude's ready to chow down on. Stuff here.
Yeah, I want to try to cook a big piece of meat over the fire like that. Because I've cooked meat over the fire, but not on a self-fashioned spit or anything.
On this trip because people fixate on food. More life-saving calories from the food that we do have.
Yeah, dude, snacking on the trail rules, especially when you have, like, calorie-dense stuff like crackers, Cheez-Its. You've got fat, carbs.
My butt. try to find one, but it shouldn't be that
Scorpion?
difficult
There's
to
no
find.
way.
I don't recommend you do this with them.
I'm not sure that even if I'm like
Surrey Indians ate them a lot in northern Mexico.
dying,
There's
I
various
would want to
species
toss a
that are
scorpion
all
in my mouth.
toxic, and voila. I don't recommend doing
There's
this
no
with
way.
anything that can put a hurt on you. With anaphylactic shock, you go down and die.
Scorpion stingers release a mixture of protein-based venom that can cause anaphylactic shock.
That's
a severe
nasty,
whole-body
dude.
allergic reaction that
If I
kills
saw that, I would
15
run the other way.
each year.
Any bugs, I'm really not excited to eat.
Where I can see
At all.
him down, and that last part of the tail to eat. And they
Yeah,
kinda
dude.
taste
There's
like-
no way.
They kind of taste like kind of a pea soup with bark in it. I'll find another one. I'll bring it back to Captain Dave and turn him on.
That
to
doesn't sound good to me.
Have claws.
Ooh.
Hard, buddy.
Wow. That thing was on his hand so hard it ripped the whole thing off. It let its arm get ripped off before it let go of Dave's hand.
Yeah, that is some solid meat protein right there. Hey, Cody!
I wouldn't be sure, because when you get a lobster
Yeah, man, look at the
from
claws.
You think he knows
the
he's
store, you just toss the whole thing into the boiling pot, don't you? So,
Man, you feel like
is that the same thing with crabs? You don't have to gut a crab, do you?
crab claws?
You betcha.
We got that honey in that black garbage bag.
Yeah, I've had crab before. Crab rules. I would definitely eat that, dude. I would be excited to eat that.
My gosh. Hey, brother.
That's kind of sick.
Succulent
Over the
tidbits
fire,
of
it's like,
wonderfulness.
I guess it's not boiled. That probably does taste pretty good because the shell
Oh, man.
has flavor that like goes into the meat when you cook it in the shell.
In one shot.
Piranhas. He's got some piranhas there. Yeah, I'd eat it. I mean, it's fish. Fish is fish, pretty much. I mean, some fish is better than others, but yeah, fish is fish for the most part.
Denal's only deadly
And he's just throwing it on the fire. That's interesting.
jaguars hunt this area after dark.
About 3 or 4 inches thick. If predators are going to come into this
This isn't any eating,
come facing me where I can
but
see them coming. Just 'cause
I've tried to build a shelter like this, and it's so much work. It's so much more work than they make you think. I've unsuccessfully tried to build a shelter. I kind of did it like in this desolate coal shale like
That's a lot of meat on a fish
place.
size.
Didn't have a lot of resources. Some places like just this last weekend I went walking through just a bunch of ferns.
Mouse here and eat.
I was hiking through like miles and miles of just ferns.
It's also called Darwin's fungus. In 1832, on the HMS Beagle, Sir Charles Darwin himself was cruising through here and gathered this from Tierra del Fuego. The native peoples would take this before it matures too much and eat it. That's the reference to Indian bread. The inside's kind of like tapioca pudding. The outside's a little bit like corn. It's mildly sweet. Mostly it's just no taste. I just need to find some Indian peanut butter and jelly.
Yeah,
I'm all set.
if I was with someone that identified that, they're like, oh yeah, you could eat this, I would eat a million of those. Looks kind of good.
coming sticks.
It looks kind of like mochi.
Green wood. And just,
Good stuff, man.
you like it?
Oh, yeah. This is lichen. This is like a fungus. Almost like eating a nice sauteed mushroom, but
You're liking the lichen?
I'm liking the lichen.
It's like eating a nice sauteed mushroom, he says.
Calories. It's food. That's just
Which is a lot different than what Cody said.
More of a protein and meat value.
Cody
and
said it
other
was
food
like
carrots
tapioca
and
pudding
things
with
like that.
corn
So I'll eat that kind
and
of
mostly
stuff
no
all day,
taste.
every day.
Yeah, eat that stuff all day.
Yeah, man.
I have more mixed
Prey.
Yeah, dude.
winter or cold weather survival
I'm not
situations.
sure I would be really excited
So I'm
to
willing
eat
gamble a little
roadkill.
because I haven't seen any recent activity of any large carnivore in the area. I see some rabbit tracks, and that's about it.
Someone like Cody
That's the stuff.
actually collects roadkill and eats it.
Is how did this animal die?
So,
Is it predation? Is it disease? Bone fragments? Like an explosion? Frankly, it looks like it's been blown out by a gunshot. My bet is this was killed by a human. They got the choicest meats, like pigs, and left
Like an
the rest.
explosion, a gunshot with what?
Signs of human presence
A
may not be
tank?
recent. A carcass.
Wyoming's a massive state.
There's videos you could watch of deer getting shot on YouTube, and they'll get shot with a 45-70, a 12 gauge slug. It'll take a 12 gauge slug right to the lungs and still run 300 yards. So the idea that a gunshot would blow the animal out is ridiculous.
If I take a couple of these forelegs, there's a lot of bone marrow that hasn't been disturbed by anything. Bone marrow is dense in proteins and fats. The other thing I'm thinking about, this tongue is hermetically sealed inside this head, so it's safe, and you can eat the tongue.
If it's frozen like that, I would have to think about that.
That head's pretty frozen.
About whether or not I would want to eat that.
The whole thing is, it's like a solid block of ice.
Because it is frozen, so it is preserved.
I'm not going to spend a whole lot more time here.
But yeah, you have to think,
The tongue,
how did it die?
and the hide can be used
And if I
for
cook it well enough,
I'll pro
is
and
any
partner.
thing that might be wrong with it going to be neutralized by cooking
Anything
it?
suspected of disease should be discarded. Rancid meat can contaminate a campsite.
Even if you cook, if you cook spoiled meat,
I got a fur hat.
you can't save spoiled meat.
No, someone did, and then scavenged.
Like you're
By what?
you're
Some
toast.
canines. I had to work to get that tongue out.
Hermetically sealed? What does that even mean?
If we cook it good, you know it's probably going to be good.
And I brought back the forelegs.
Is your tongue considered the inside of your body?
Get whatever marrow out we can.
The two things that I don't eat out of animals, no matter how they die, unless I'm just dying, is the brain and the bone marrow, because that's where disease is likely to be generated from. Anthrax and hoof and mouth.
Right. Do you want me to just put
You just got to make sure that you don't touch your eyes or anything, because rabies, you can transmit it through your eyes very easily too.
Yeah, I don't know stuff like that. Like, if there's going to be disease, it's going to be in the bone marrow. I wouldn't know that. If Cody said, oh yeah, bone marrow, that nothing would have touched the bone marrow, I'd be like, yeah! And then Dave says, there's disease in the bone marrow. No!
out there?
This is the dumbest thing. This is the weirdest and dumbest thing I see Cody do.
Because it's like tea. Oh, to Cody, you want some?
No thanks, man. There's plenty of water around for me not to have to suck my socks.
Exactly. There's plenty of water to not have to suck
That's a good one.
on your sock.
Juice out of his socks. My opportunity.
That's like when you're at, yeah, right? Like if you're at a restaurant and you just like are done with your meal, you're like, you know what, I'm an opportunist, and you start eating your fingernails.
Toe jam. When it comes to meat that you find in the wild, you cook it until it's a brick. 99% of the time, you're going to be pretty safe.
Want me to slice a piece
Yeah,
out?
That
that,
front piece looks like it might be pretty close.
again, I am kind of a snob, so that would be tough for me to eat well done, really well done
It's
meat.
delicious.
That was good.
To me,
It's meat.
Okay.
Uh,
I want to set. I don't have a good grip.
would I eat that tongue? Yeah, I would eat the tongue. Would I eat python? Yes.
See it still beating? Pretty intense. He didn't kill this thing 2 minutes ago. You know, it's meat as far as I'm concerned, but to a lot of cultures and to Dave, this is like the lifeblood of the animal.
It's so weird
Still beating. I mean, you can see the state of the snake.
because
They had the heart
Dave
refusing to give up.
calls Cody a hippie, but Cody looks at the heart, and Dave considers like the spirit of the animal lives in the heart, and Cody's like, it's just meat.
oh yeah.
Done?
Yeah, dude, that looks awesome. That looks really good, honestly. I would definitely eat that.
Eaten python before?
Yeah, I ate a boa constrictor once. Pretty good meat, though, I'll tell you that right now. That's some good meat.
Yeah, and Dave eating so much different kinds of meat would make me kind of take his judgment on what good meat is seriously. Like, okay, he's had all different kinds of meat, and he's saying this is good. Okay, yeah, I'll have some.
It is what it is. You can just hear
Uh,
that southwestern sizzle.
Some kind of cactus?
Choya spines are highly toxic. and must be
Choya.
burned off.
Kind of open it up. It's the pulp on the inside. It's like okra, slimy, satisfying, green, just like Mom used to make.
Yeah, I don't like okra. I don't like slime, really. Not a big fan of slime at all.
By the way.
They're very thin-skinned animals, and you really could almost process one of these by just taking a sharp stick, like this one.
This is actually where I learned how to skin a rabbit, from this.
You're the fur. It's pretty much that simple.
I've never had rabbit. Yeah, I'd try it for sure.
Just a heart for you, brother.
Oh, wow.
Your heart, your kill.
And there are rabbits around where I live.
Damn.
And there's, like when you're talking about homesteading or sustainability or something, the idea of rabbits, this is the worst. I'm going to hold on. We got to pause this. The idea of rabbits is that they like reproduce really fast. So it's really like a sustainable meat source, eating rabbits. I don't know if rabbits are that great. Like rabbits are really stringy from what I understand. I've never had one, but I understand that they're stringy and you really want to stew them. So I don't really want to have stew every day. This is what Cody does right here. I'm not doing this.
The elephant digests about 50% of what it eats. So a lot of the stuff rockets out the rear end of this thing. What I'm picking out of this elephant poop are marula nuts.
Marula fruit is a favorite of the elephant. Like peaches, they have nut-bearing pits, which pass undigested through the elephant.
This is primitive technology 101. Put your nuts in a sling so that you don't fracture your hand and the nut doesn't fly away and hit with leadwood. That is protein, that is carbohydrate, and that is fat.
There is a
If
0%
you feed it a
chance.
gross out factor. Personally, I've never eaten anything that came out of a rear end before. Bottom line, you do what you have to do, and picky people die.
Well, I've never done this
I'm
before.
not even going to waste my time bringing these back to Dave because I know what the answer is going to be as far as him wanting to eat them or not. So I might eat my fill here. It's just more nuts for me.
Yeah, there's a 0% chance that I'm doing that.
Wonder if I can find our breakfast, Cody.
Where the hell did you put it?
And the same thing with like worms. It's not me being like prissy or a snob. There's a level of gross out factor that it would actually be detrimental to me to eat it and then vomit a ton of water with whatever I just ate. So there's no way that could be good. This here, there's no way. I'm not doing this.
Look at that, man.
What the hell is that?
That's the meat and the guts.
I see guts. Where's the meat?
Right there. That's
Yeah, the fact that he
spine. See
cooked the
spine?
guts
That's our
really,
Yeah, worth it. And they really smell. So what the hell?
They smell.
Donut.
Here's some meat, Cody.
Oh, here's the
Thigh.
greens. This is
this is
stomach contents.
that's repulsive.
I've never eaten stomach contents of a tortoise before, but I was hoping for something more.
Look at that chunk of meat right there.
That's terrible.
You should have some
0%
meat
chance
on
I'm
this.
doing this.
There might be a piece of
I think
penis.
that's a penis.
That might be his penis. That's all right. Tortoise penis. I just stole his manhood.
Yeah,
I
dude.
witnessed Dave eat a tortoise penis.
All
So
that
maybe can
slime
be-
when he pulled that thing out with the guts. Yeah, with how they were acting, how they're acting when they're gutting something. Like, we got to make sure we're very careful when we're doing this so we don't taint the meat. This is let's just cook the whole thing with the guts and then stick our fingers in the guts and pull the stuff out and eat it. That's the worst thing I've ever seen in my life. 0% chance I'm doing that.
I know for a fact this is a dried saddle. I'm just going to break it off. Of here.
This would be awesome. If there's any mycology girls out there, hit me up. Having a mycology GF would be incredible.
Hardwood trees during the spring.
I've actually done this. I've actually not done it, but I've been out in the woods and I found these small orange mushrooms, and I just went and looked it up, and from what I could tell, they were chanterelle mushrooms, which are among the most exquisite mushrooms in the world. But I wasn't sure that that's what they were, so I didn't take them. Because I really don't want to eat a mushroom, be paralyzed, and then slowly suffocate to death from a neurotoxin.
It's protein too.
No, not doing this. My mushrooms, my beautiful mushrooms, are not going in that bucket with worms.
Whenever someone has margin, there's a bad boy.
Now, the worms, if they're going in a stew like this, if you were to chop them up, I'd feel better about it.
Helmet here.
Yeah, dude.
It's pretty good. Not bad.
Dave says it's pretty good.
Hell, it's like miso soup without the salt.
Nice worm you got there.
Not excited about worms. Especially the long, dangly, slimy thing. This is the worst. I'm not doing this. I already know what this is. This is the only thing that's going to make me gag.
Calories in this can of chunky feast. That's 250 a piece. So it's definitely something, but it's not a whole lot.
I'm actually...
So use the calories in this chunky feast to maybe get more calories.
Ooh, look, gravy.
The consistency is like baby excrement. It's just slop.
Bon appetit.
I'm not doing this.
It's pretty nasty. It actually tastes like food, but I'm not sure what.
No.
One of that dog.
No.
Have
I'm not eating the chunky feast. Oh, gosh.
It says made with real meat.
Ugh.
Where's the beef? Where's the beef? Oh, there's a chunk. That's good bait.
Look at that.
That's got raccoon.
That...
So you should be able to use the chunks to bait the trap, and we'll deal with the rest.
See, even this, even like pre-prepared literal food,
I mean, that stuff is horrible.
they're not eating. They're gonna use that to get other food.
Dog food. And we'll just have a good old hobo fire. It's almost like the Great Depression, right here.
I would take a big... Whoa.
It's like something out of my granddaughter's diaper.
I would take a bunch of worms, twirl them up, put a little basil on the top, and go like Lady and the Tramp before I would even want to sniff that stuff.
This dog food is my friend in this situation, and I'm going to eat as much of it as I can.
Oh.
Raccoon for breakfast. Fire, seat, actually see under the rocks. And
Yeah.
use a flashlight.
I would eat literally everything else that they've done.
Sea urchin, searching for
Everything else they've
You
eaten
can
besides the dog food.
real slow and kind of split it open. The orange
Sea
stuff
urchin?
is what we're after.
I don't know.
Gonads. These are the sexual organs.
I don't know how to eat them or what to eat. Oh, the orange stuff, he says?
Didn't have to do a whole lot of running around.
The orange stuff is the edible stuff. I guess I'll keep that in mind if I ever have to get any urchin.
Back to Dave and
So yeah, I'd eat everything on this in these videos before I would eat the freaking dog food. That was the worst. I was actually gagging looking at the dog food. Now I'm actually a little sick to my stomach after looking at the dog food. But yeah, that's the video. Let me know how much of this stuff you would eat, and tell me about weird stuff that you've eaten.